Okay, good morning. So, I'm doing something new again this morning. We're doing a live stream. I'm trying to make this more streamlined and efficient. Again, went from using Google Hangouts on air to pre-recording it, then uploading it, and now I'm just working out live streaming it. And I can't tell. Sometimes there's a delay. It takes a minute for it to catch, and I started talking before that happened, and hopefully this is all being caught now. And so here we go. It's July 8th, a Monday, 2019, Anno Domini, and this is the Sludge Report, a side project of Uncle Benny's Creepy Campfire Stories. I am your host, Uncle Benny. So welcome. We're going to start off today with a little music now that I'm doing the recording, and it's sort of coming through it's not ambient now, so that helps. And we're just going to stir ourselves up here a little bit with some good old spiritual here called Look Where He Brought Me From. I'm going to listen to a few minutes of this. He brought me. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, I hope that he's brought you from darkness into his marvelous light as well through his son, Jesus Christ, not his real name. I pray that you want to know his real name, right? I've prayed it. Lord, what is your name? Because, if he was walking down the streets of Jerusalem and you yelled out, Jesus, I'm sure he'd answer you, but, for the sake of the little story here, that wasn't his name. Anyway, that's just a little side note. So I've got a couple things to talk about this morning at the risk of making this longer than 20 to 30 minutes. Let's hope it isn't. I got up early, so that it wouldn't be. Anyway, the words there are, look where he brought me. I've got a hiding place, brought me out of darkness. The first thing I was thinking as I was watching this, again, this is unscripted. In fact, this is live streaming, right? I made that clear to start with. Here's this fella, Epstein is what it is, I believe. Sounds like a Jewish name. What flavor Jew, I don't know, but from all the rumors that have, and allegations, not only allegations, he went to prison, apparently in Florida, prostitution charges and things. And, this is a guy that, ostensibly, one of my favorite words, had the world by the tail as far as money, all that heart could wish, the money, the money could buy. He had his own private island, and maybe, I would imagine, his own private plane and pilot. I know he had at least one or two houses, one in Arizona or New Mexico, I think it is, and one in a place, obviously, in the big city. And here is a man who, where is he being brought to? Well, he's being brought out of his hiding place. Yeah? Brought out of his hiding place, not to a hiding place, but out of a hiding place, and into deeper darkness. If he's in darkness, I don't know where this, there's a lot of things that go on behind the scenes, or what this is, who he is, who he's connected to, what all the agendas are. You don't know. It's all a show in a lot of ways, but there's real things that happen too. Epstein arrested, accused of luring girls to his Manhattan mansion and abusing them, faces 45 years. That's going to be a life sentence for him. Docs could expose powerful politicians, businessmen. Don't hold your breath, by the way. Don't hold your breath. Trump quote services, and just in case you haven't read it, I'll save you the trip. He said something about he likes beautiful women like I do, albeit on the younger side, something to that effect. He alluded to the fact he was aware of this guy being into, I don't know what it was, teenage girls, prepubescent girls, not sure. I don't know if it goes down to like 5-year-olds, but it definitely minors, And anyway, there's a lot of information in his name, possibly, by the way. You do the math on that. You figure that out. So here's a fella being brought out of his hiding place and into the light. There's nothing. Our sins will find us out. I've experienced it in my own life. Your sins will find you out. And, pray for this man. Pray for this man. The Lord wants us all to be saved. All to be saved. He came not into the world not to condemn the world, but to deliver us all from the power of sin and death, So I'm going to start off, there's going to be a lot of word in here this morning, and that's okay, because the word is wisdom. And the Sludge Report here is about reframing one of the main fire hoses of the doom and darkness and propaganda and mind control that's foisted upon people of influence, people of seeming rational and intelligent minds. This is a huge news aggregate worldwide, influential, and it's started as I'll say it again, because I think I'm getting some newer people watching this, that this was started as a gossip column for Hollywood and Washington, D.C. gossip, and arguably still is. And beyond that, it's developed into a agent of mind control and propaganda, and it is named after Matt Drudge, who we'll just leave it there for now. I've made comments about some of his character in the past, but anyway, let's go on, because I'm getting gonna wax too long here. All right, so Proverbs I'm going to read you quite a bit here. Does not wisdom cry, and understanding put forth her voice? She stands in the top of the high places, by the way in the places of the paths. She cries at the gates, at the entry of the city, at the coming in at the doors. Okay, I want to stop right here. What are the gates of the city these days? What are the places of the past? What are the high places? Well, it's your media outlets, it's your news, it's all these, it's the newspapers, it's the news talk radio, it's the Drudge Reports of the world, it's the YouTube news outlets that are, the way they, Fox has their own channel, and CNN and all these things, and all these news websites. Wisdom is there crying out if you're there to listen. And that's what we're doing here. We're here to listen to wisdom in the midst of the foolishness, right? In the midst of the darkness, we're going to shine a light, and we're going to reframe it, because we're being spun, and we've got no business reading the news, hearing the news, especially talking out of our behinds about the news, if we don't even know what it's really all about. Yeah? Okay, so let me carry on. Unto you, O men, I call, and women, by the way. Unto you, O men, I call, and my voice is to the sons of man. O you simple ones, understand wisdom. We can't just hear wisdom, we have to understand it too, yeah? And you fools, be of an understanding heart. Hear, for I will speak of excellent things, and the opening of my lips shall be right things. For my mouth shall speak truth, and wickedness is an abomination to my lips. I wish I could say that. I mean, I've even used a foul word or two in these broadcasts, for effect, mind you. Hey, granted, I hit my thumb with a hammer. I might utter an expletive. Trust me, it's in there. I hear it all the time, and what goes in the ears or eyes gets in your heart, and you'll find it coming out. Garbage in, garbage out. Gigo. Yeah? All the words of my mouth are in righteousness. Now, this is wisdom, not me, by the way, because mine aren't. I've said angry words, lose my temper at times, or I've, used bad language or told a bad joke. You know what I mean. All the words of my mouth are in righteousness. There is nothing froward or perverse in them. What did Peter say to Christ? He said, I'm a man of unclean lips. I think he said that. I think any man who, in an encounter with God, has, maybe it was Isaiah who said it as well, and then the Lord put a coal of fire upon his lips and cleansed him. So anyway, it's all of us, by the way. You too. Sorry to say, it's you too. You and I have froward hearts, except the Lord circumcises them, renews them, purifies them, right? Okay, I didn't mean to make this a sermon, but this is important. All the words of my mouth are in righteousness. There is nothing froward or perverse in them. They are all plain to him that understands, and right to them that finds knowledge. Receive my instructions and not silver, and knowledge rather than choice gold. Now that's huge if you think about it. Right now, 7:32 a.m. Eastern Time, people are getting up and getting going. Why? To get out there and get silver and gold. Literally and figuratively. And, money's important. Not saying that, but, that's what they're thinking about. And most of them, and I do this all the time. I don't start my day every day reading Proverbs, and yeah, I'd love to. It's just a habit that it's good to get into. Am I seeking wisdom first thing before I look to make money and get out to work? All right, anyway, I'm digressing. I've got a few things to cover. I'm trying to keep it trucking here. For wisdom is better than rubies, and all the things that may be desired are not to be compared to it. Wow. See, as I'm reading this, making this video, it's jumping out at me. It's pretty heavy. All the things that may be desired. That means all the things that may be desired. All day long, you hear the things that may be desired crying out loud to you. Desire me. Whether it's that hot body of one sex or the other on the magazine cover in the checkout line, whether it's that cool Porsche or SUV or whatever kind of car you like, or that house or that neighborhood or that event that's going to be happening, all the things that may be desired not to be compared to it. For I, wisdom, dwell with prudence, and find out knowledge of witty inventions. All right, so there we go. So knowledge of witty inventions, and that's what we're here to do. This whole deal is a witty invention. The way that the media spends the events of the day, whether they're real or manufactured events, they certainly can manufacture the tale around them. Never forget that. Whether an event is real or not real, odds are very high the truth is not being told. Okay? So, let's I want to point out a couple things here. And I guess I say that every episode, but first one is Quake Watch. Okay? Now the earthquake deal has been in the news quite a bit. I've talked about it in the last episode. Here it is down here in the middle. You know, this is a graphic illustration of how, whether it's a school shooting or whatnot, it makes its way down. It was headlines. Oh, look over here. Look over there. You know, it's the art of misdirection all the time. Look at this. Look at that. This is a lot of times how, if you don't know this already, you probably do. A lot of foul laws get passed in the dark of night, or under the swirl. I'm using this word here. Under the swirl of another story, you know, they're weaving something else in another place, all right, because you're looking over there. It's the art of misdirection. Talk about that all the time, okay? So here it is. It went from way up here in the headlines to down here, the middle. Here's another thing to talk about, is the big one coming. All my life that I can remember, they've always talked about the big one, California falling off in the ocean. It's even a joke to people that, like, you know, oh, that'll be good, you know. Well, a lot of good people in California, a lot of brothers and sisters as well, and a lot of people that, all the people the Lord loves and wants to save. Now, I'm not a fool to think that's really going to happen, but the point is the big one. The big one is just another one of those inventions, a witty invention. The big one, that, what does that mean? It means you're living in fear, just like of nuclear war. Nuclear war, the big one, the big earthquake that's going to make California fall off the face of the map. Well, you know, I have to give it to the people in California that have been exposed to this as well, yet they carry on living there. You know, good for them on one hand. On the other hand, I should have pulled this up. I couldn't find it the other day when I was doing I talked about the earthquakes a little bit. There was a woman saying we never thought this. She was in the river crest or river side or wherever it happened, the epicenter. She said we never. It was just ridiculous. She's, you know, a middle-aged to later woman, and, you know, in shock and crying and saying we never thought this would happen to us, and we never. You know, that was just, to me, so poignant a moment. I will find it. In fact, I got a clue to where it is last night. I just didn't think to put it in this video. This woman is acting like she had no idea that this could happen. Well, you know what? That's just such a what's the word I want to look for? An example, or just a representation or symbol. It's symbolic. That's what I'm saying. It's symbolic of how people don't. They're so unaware. You would think they would know. Well, they don't. And, you know, at one point in my life, I didn't. I did not. I didn't know how to think about things or know these things. And I was tossed to and fro. My emotions, the news could bring me down and make me, you know, stock market's up, stock market's down. Stock market's up, stock market's down. You know, and it seems like the sky is falling, and, you know, it's just manipulation. All right, let's move on from the quakes. You know, if they happen, they happen. And we talked about it in the other video. So the next thing I want to get to is the video I did on 7/6. 7/6, was it? Yeah, I think it was. Okay, so it's only 2 days ago. Seems like it was longer than that. No, it was the 5th. It was the 5th. So it's been 3 or 4 days. Humans wearing teledildonic suits can now have sex with each other over the internet. Now, this is the area where I said before that Drudge, almost always, there's some prurient, lascivious, perverted, some kind of sex story, yeah? And this was up at the top, which was a significant change. It was way up here for a little while, but here's the point I'm trying to make. It's still here. 3 days later, still here. Almost as important as earthquakes. See what I mean? Okay? This story is important to them for some reason. It has a shelf life. Why does it have a shelf life? They're going to get every last morsel, every last person who's going to eat the last morsels of it before they retire this story. Took this word. They're going to, before they, change it out with something else. Okay? So that leads me into, let's say, the first story here. Festival charges double ticket price for people. For this, the title almost hides what this is about, because I had to open it up and read it to understand what they were saying. Now, I'm not sure saying they did that, because I think actually the way the festival advertising reads, they use this phrase, because that's why the quotes are there. But I read this, I'm like, does that mean what I think it means? Because it's non-people of color. Non-people. Think about that. Non-people of color. Now, there's a little bit of a mind control psyop right in there. Words are powerful. Words have meaning. Words have double meanings. Words have so many meanings that they can be used to deceive. Okay, festival charges double ticket price for, quote, non-people of color, unquote. The controversial pricing plan has led one artist to pull out of the event, saying she was enraged by the policy. I don't know if they named the artist, but we're going to go down here. This is Aero Future. I think it's up in Detroit Rock City, in the United States. Aero Future Fest. Let's see. Immersive, intimate, and intentional space keeping for Afro-Black Futurist. A 360 transformative dreamscape centering on Detroit's black magic performers. Well, I don't think that means black magic, but yeah, it probably means black magic. But it means, black people, magic performers and artisans with community. Essence Fest meets... Okay, this bunch of, I think they're trying to be artistic in their description. Let's see here. A music and arts festival in Detroit is charging fans different prices depending on their skin color. The controversial pricing plan has led one artist pulling out of the event, saying she was enraged by the policy. Well, they're not naming the artist. I don't know why. Let's see. The organizers of Afro Future Fest, set it for the 3rd and 4th of August, are charging lower rates for tickets bought by people of color than for non-people of color. It's funny. Again, now you see it. Non-people. Now, out of the heart, the mouth speaks. This is quoting them, okay? And this is basically relegating, what are non-people of color? What are people that are not colored? Whether they're brown or yellow, red or black, okay? They're white. Now, there is a huge concerted effort to minoritize white people, to demonize white people, to overthrow what's perceived as white privilege and white power and all this kind of stuff, which is nonsense, by the way. And here's case in point. It's okay to be white, by the way. That statement alone, you could look it up and look into the history of this that happened in the last year or so, which was basically a phrase that was posted in some posters, and it was well, you can look into it, but it got the authorities aroused to hate speech and hate crimes because someone stated just simply, it's okay to be white. Well, it is, and it's okay to be black, and it's okay to be Asian or Indian or African or whatever. I mean, what am I going to say? Caucasian or all the other different words for it. I don't know. It's okay to be whatever you were made to be. That's in the Lord's hands. No one has any responsibility for what household they were born in, or what color they were born to be, that has nothing to do with it. And by the way, in Christ, there is no Jew or Greek. It also means in Christ, there's no black or white. It really does. He came in to save everyone. And that makes us in a family. It's just that simple. Okay? These distinctions, where are they coming from? Well, what's the title of this say? Look, I forgot what I titled the video. Look where he brought us from. Division. Okay? Brought us from animosity. Brought us from all kinds of things. But look where they're leading us. Be careful where they're leading us. That's what they're doing. Even when they point this out and you're supposed to be outraged and shocked, nevertheless, they're normalizing this. It's been so normalized that these people rolled this out, and maybe they're going to get away with it. I don't know. Is this a legitimate policy? I don't think it is. I think actually this is let's just flip it around. It's very easy. Compare and contrast. You take a photograph and you put it in your photo editor and you do a contrast. You flip the colors back around. You can start to see things you didn't see before. It's the same thing. So let's just take it and say that, let's say this was for Caucasian Future Fest. They're charging lower prices for white people than for black people. Or lower prices for white people than for Asians. Or lower prices for white people than they are for Hispanics. Now, how do you think that would fly? This would be a national story, don't you think? Not even just a little down here. Down here, this is the bottom story. That's important. Think about it. You know that it's the same thing. You got to think about it like this. First of all, let's start with the one premise. There's nothing they put in before our eyes that is not on purpose. Now, you've heard of product placement, right? You've also heard about it was on the front page of the paper. Then they made a correction and it was on page 20, right? Because where they place a story or an article is an editorial decision and it has meaning. Now, not every story can be the headline, right? But you get it? You get it? Mind control, conditioning, social programming. They're framing it. They're telling you what's important. This isn't that important. It's just a little, we're going to do the witchcraft and report it to you and tell you what's been done. If you don't know what I mean by that, you'll figure it out over time. But, you've been told. We reported it. Oh, you can't say we hid it from you. Well, kind of. So, who reads every single article on here? Who's got the time, right? So, non-people of color. Again, catch that? People of non-color. Now, one could say, well, they just made a mistake. Whoever wrote this just wasn't that bright. Really? I think they're pretty brilliant. I think that's pretty brilliant. It's very clever. That's what I mean by brilliant. It's clever. Clever like a fox, Non-people. Watch out for that. White people are being demonized. Demonized. I've experienced it myself recently, as a matter of fact. Which I don't want to get into that story, but it was shocking to me and very hurtful because, man, you know what? Red and yellow, black and white, all are precious in His sight. He's got the whole world in His hands, and He loves you and me, brother, you and me, sister. Okay? Red and yellow, black and white. I don't care if you're Aborigine in Australia, Egypt, Egyptian, Indian. I guess I'm trying to say northern Africa, Middle Africa, Southern African, Indian, Asian. There's stripes of all kinds all over the world. Even among us honkies. Okay. Some have blue eyes, some have brown eyes, some have green eyes, some have hazel eyes, right? Lots of different kinds. And, we're getting caught up in phenotypes by and large. Now, there's a lot to be said about the quote-unquote races, and I don't understand it all. But I do know this, that it's not like all white people are going to be saved and the rest. Now there are, by the way, I know of some alleged, they call themselves Christians, who believe that only white people will be saved, and I mean that's crazy. There's also blacks who kind of believe the same thing. So there's nothing new under the sun, and there's nothing that's pretty much native to one color of person as far as wrong ideas, demonic doctrines, sin, you name it. Okay, we're all made from the same dust. Okay. Anyway, that's really a complex topic. I've never really delved into it deeply. I'm satisfied right now just to say, he loves the whole world, and he came and died for the sins of the whole world. All right, so there you go. So I want to also, again, let's reframe it. We're not done yet, okay? This is a false balance, isn't it? Proverbs 11:1 says a false balance is an abomination to the Lord, but a just weight is his delight. What does that mean? It means this is not fair. This is a false balance. It means it's an abomination. This is an abomination. Think about that. That's what the Bible say. Bible say diverse weights and diverse measures, both of them alike, are abomination to the Lord. Proverbs 20, verse 10. They measured people differently and charged them differently. It's an abomination to the Lord, the Creator. It's an abomination. That's a heavy-duty word, abomination. In fact, I'm gonna look it up real quick. I'm gonna look this up real quick, if I can. Well, there we go. All right. Okay. It's coming. There we go. Extreme hatred, detestation. Now this is from like the Webster dictionary from way back. I mean, this is a Webster's dictionary like 1800s or something. The object of detestation, a common signification in Scripture. The way of the wicked is an abomination to the Lord. Hence, defilement, pollution, in a physical sense, or evil doctrines and practices which are moral defilements, idols and idolatry are called abominations. The Jews were an abomination to the Egyptians. And the sacred animals of the Egyptians were an abomination to the Jews. The Roman army is called the abomination of desolation. In short, whatever is an object of extreme hatred is called an abomination. So there you go. So the Lord himself extremely hates this. And you know what? Boys and girls, brothers and sisters, all my brothers and all my friends, you should hate it with extreme hatred too. Not the people. They're lost. They're lost. They're deceived or they're deceivers. It's just really that simple. Okay? Diverse weights are an abomination unto the Lord, and a false balance is not good. Proverbs 20:23. There you go. There's a third time in the book of wisdom. All of these were from Proverbs. Excuse me. All of them say abomination. So when you find, for example, what does that say then about affirmative action? You never hear them talking about affirmative action in terms of, there'll be people who say, oh, it's not fair, or, it started problems and, it's created all kinds of issues, but you don't hear them say it's an abomination. It is. It's a false balance. It's measuring differently. It's unfairly measuring, showing favoritism or to the hurt of another person. It's like you go to the store and the person in the checkout line in front of you, let's say they're a quote unquote person of color, unquote. Okay, that's 3 quotes. A person of color, and they're buying let's say a T-bone steak, and it's $15, and the cashier charges them $5. You have the same steak. You walk up, and you're a whitey. Guess what, honky? It's $18, $15. That's an abomination. Okay? There you go. All right, let's move on. Story's over. Links in the description. Okay. Next thing is, this has been here a couple days anyway. The perks of being a psychopath. Now, I read a little bit of it. I didn't read every single word of this, and we'll get into a little bit of it. But the very title of this suggests there's perks to being a psychopath. Does it not? Yes, it does. Yeah, there's your answer. Yes. So whether or not, you may have a sort of stoic, responsive type of a reading of this, and many people do, but there is a message in this, and it goes into your heart and head, right? And it's not about just one article like this making that huge a difference. This is a continual stream. It's done every single day, drip, 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 drop, 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 little by little, line upon line. We are being fed. We are being fed constantly twists like this, the perks of being a psychopath. So what's the message? The subtext is that there are good things about being a psychopath. Now it's time for another scripture reading. Okay. This is from probably the thematic passage that revolves around the Sludge Report, where the disciples are on the Mount of Olives in Matthew 24. It's called the signs of the age, signs of his coming, signs of his return, right? And is on the Mount of Olives, and disciples went up to Jesus, not his real name, and they asked him, when are you coming back? What's it going to look like? What's the end of the world? The end of time? And then he answered them, okay? Take heed that no man deceive you. And that's what we're doing here. For many shall come in my name, saying, I am Christ, and shall deceive many. And you'll hear of wars and rumors of wars, and see that you be not troubled. See, this is worth reading again and again. I know I read it the other day, and maybe I should read it every time. See that you be not troubled, for all these things must come to pass, but the end is not yet. And as I said yesterday, that doesn't mean we can just, okay, don't worry, it's not coming till way down the road. The end, when it's the end, it's the end. And then, 5 minutes before the end, it's not yet. Okay, so don't forget that. So for nation shall rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom, and people of color against people of non-color. Did you think about that? So you think about that for a minute. What we just read, nation against nation and kingdom against kingdom. It's easy to think of this as in like a country, isn't it? Tribe against tribe, nation against nation, blacks against whites, whites against blacks, Hispanics against blacks, blacks against Hispanics, Hispanics against whites, whites against Hispanics. Signs of the times of his return, my friends. Okay? And there shall be famines and pestilences and earthquakes in many places. And yesterday it was all about the many places and how we would even know that. And that's because of the times we're living in. We have the ability to. All these are the beginning of sorrows. Then shall they deliver you up to be afflicted and shall kill you. Well, in a sense, they're doing that. A man's name is to desire to be desired. A good name is to be desired above great riches. Somewhere in Proverbs, I think. And, they will destroy your name. It's easy to read this and say, oh, we're not in those times because, at least in our country anyway, we're not being like crucified and killed because they're not hauling us out of our house because we're, one of his and a Christian. Well, yes, they are. Okay? When someone destroys your name or destroys your means of making a living or eating, feeding your family, they're killing you. They've killed something, haven't they? So these are the times, all my brothers and all my friends. They shall deliver you up to be afflicted and shall kill you, and you shall be hated of all nations for my name's sake. And then shall many be offended and shall betray one another and shall hate one another. Hey, there's a message all right in there. I wasn't even counting on this, but I'm not going to get too far into it. But look, what's all this division about? It's to get you to not like this person, hate this person, resent that person, betray them, be offended by things. This is the age of being offended, man. And I don't mean the snowflake who is offended and triggered, their favorite word, triggered by everything that their gender studies professor told them they ought to be offended about, okay? Anyway, moving on. Many false prophets, false teachers shall rise and deceive many, Because iniquity shall abound, the love of many shall wax cold. And that's where I wanted to get to, but let me finish. But he that shall endure unto the end, the same shall be saved. And this gospel of the kingdom shall be preached in all the world for a witness unto all nations, and then shall the end come. The end's coming. But anyway, the verse is, because iniquity shall abound, the love of many shall wax cold. The perks of being a psychopath. Let's get into it. Okay. The very title would suggest that being heartless, being cold, being a psychopath is good. It's just that simple. Okay. So let me just go through here. You can read the article. It's in the description if you want. Maybe there's something redemptive in here that I'm skipping over, but it's okay. Let's see. It talks about psychopathy as self-centered impulsivity. We know this is the age of self-centeredness. Okay. Heartlessness and fearless dominance. What did I say the other day about that? It's like greed. The greedy get off on domination. Okay. Power. Greedy. Fearless domination, meaning they get away with it. No reprisals. No accountability. Becoming like a god. An evil god. Okay. Self-centered impulsivity is associated with impetuosity, belligerence, and narcissism. Heartlessness, this is one I wanted to get to. Heartlessness is related to an inability to experience important social emotions like love or remorse. The love of many shall wax cold. Okay? In the end times, men shall they'll wax worse and worse. I thought I pulled that one up to read it specifically, but I guess not. Excuse me. So just what Bible say there, what Jesus, not his real name, say. The love of many shall wax cold. It's enough. Heartlessness is related to an inability to experience important social emotions. Now remember that the whole entrance to this article was there's perks here. So one might read this article and think, maybe I should be a little more heartless. Psychopaths get away. They're the ones who get to the top and become CEOs and mega rich and, all these things. There's even books written around that, by the way. Psychopath, freed from his emotional shackles. Now, this is mind control. You have no emotions. You don't feel things. It's freedom, right? You might say, well, now you're splitting hairs. I mean, come on, that's not mind control, and isn't it? The psychopath freed from his emotional shackles. Are there other ways that could have been written and said? Yeah, but I'm not saying the author of this article was conscientiously choosing that word and everything, but he's part of the Borg. That spirit working within him, because believe me, the Holy Spirit was working in this person, they might have had a check and changed what this means, or changed the whole thing. This is in concert. The author of this article, and then you've got the editor who put this title to the link in here, because wait a minute, was that the title of the article? It is. Doc, probably a psychiatrist, don't know. Okay, so it wasn't even Drudge who made the article title. Didn't notice that. Should have noticed that, but I didn't. So there you go. Here's a paper called Successful Psychopathy. Introduces readers to a man by the name of Forrest Yo Thomas, a real-life daredevil. By employing a number of disguises and fake documents, the World War II British spy regularly evaded capture by the Nazis. According to authors, Yo Thomas once pretended to be a corpse while traveling in a coffin. All right. He did all these things, and they made a movie. Or no, I'm sorry, excuse me. In a move straight out of Liam Neeson movie, our hero once strangled a prison guard with his bare hands. Okay, he was busy seducing beautiful women. So they're portraying this guy as, untouchable, very powerful, moving through what we can only imagine as like circumstances that we would be, we could never get out of, or we would never, like he's a magic man, right? Isn't this putting him on a pedestal a bit? Okay. Most are familiar with James Bond, his fictional incarnation. There you go. Leads up to James Bond. Yes, Yo Thomas was the inspiration for novelist Ian Fleming's ostentatious, sex-crazed, martini-gulping hero. And there you go. We're back to the entertainment industry and deception and glorification of evil. The world being inside out, white is black, black is white, The World War II spy, typical of what we in the profession call a successful psychopath. So anyway, you could read this article, and without guarding your heart, okay? Without guarding your heart, this gets lodged in there somewhere and will come back out. Where? I don't know. Some situation in your life, possibly. You might choose in that moment to say, you know what? I might get through this by being a real a-hole, by being a real callous individual. If you don't know what I'm talking about, or you think I'm taking it too far, that's your opinion, but let me tell you, ask me how I know. Okay? Keep your heart with all diligence, for out of it are the issues of life. That's in the book of wisdom. Proverbs 4:23. Keep your heart with all diligence. Now look, I'll be the first to tell you, you came around my heart, let's pretend it's a house. You're going to find a lot of weeds, a broken gate, all kinds of problems. All right. So I'm not talking down to anyone here. I've got my own little red wagon to take care of. Okay. So I'm, like I've said before, and I'll say it again, I'm doing this for me. I hope you get something out of it. This is good for me, and I get something out of it. It's a bit of a, you could call it a devotional. You could call it an exercise in sharpening discernment, whatever, you know. It's unscripted, and other than I, pick a few things I want to talk about. I'm not doing the doom dots for a while till I figure out how to be able to write on the screen and it be visible. That's not working. I spent a good deal of time trying to be able to do that, but it's not that important. We can live without it. If you don't know what I'm talking about, they're in the earlier videos where I go through and I mark up, I just go through the whole Sludge Report, and I put red dots by all the titles that are, if you read them all, you're going to think the whole world's going to hell tomorrow. Well, it kind of is, but, is that important to you to feed on every day? It shouldn't be. All right. I maintain these newscasters. I don't know how they do it. I'd really like to know if there's have a whole separate coursework in there, when they're training in college or whatever schools they go to become newscasters, how to stay mentally healthy and keep your heart. And when you read these stories, and 1 minute you're talking about, all these people being killed, and the next minute you go over to the weather, and make a joke with your colleagues sitting next to you, and go back to smiles, and the next, they turn from one camera to the next, and now they're all smiles again. This is a dangerous game they're playing with themselves and for the audience. Be aware of that. Think about it. They look with the stoic and stern face, and what's that guy's name? David Muir. He does it really well. Most of those guys, especially in the evening news, they do it. They bring you come in and they tune in. They give you a little nod, and they're all well dressed, and they've got this beautiful set behind them. It looks like that's living. That's where it is. That's where the energy is. That's where life is. They've got the news. They're on the cusp. They're in tune with what you need to know, and it looks you dead in the eye with these eyes, almost like, next time look at them when they're about to tell you the bad news of the day, and the look is they've got some bad news. They're not going to make it. That's the look. Like a doctor might have to say, I'm sorry to tell you, we don't think he's going to make it. That's the look. And then, well, the local news, I don't know how much they do it on the evening news. It's usually a straight shot, but they turn in the local news from one camera where they're giving you the doom, and the next one they'll turn to the other camera, and now you see them beautiful white teeth and that great makeup and that smile, and they go to the next story. Wow, switching gears like that, it's a bit crazy, It's a bit crazy. What's that tell you? It means all that was BS. All that was BS. All that acting. They're acting. They're acting like it brings them down, and they're acting like they're happy. Either way, they're acting. I don't know about you, baby, but I really don't want actors in my life. You keep your actors up on the stage. You keep your actors in your films. You keep your actors on your TV shows, in your sketch comedies, whatever. Actors, I don't want in my life, period. I don't want an act. I want real. I want real people. Don't you? I think so. I respect you enough to tell you I think so. Anyway, so let's wrap it up. Gosh, I don't know how long this is. anyway, 2 articles and a couple points about what's going on, the Drudge Report. So let's see if the headlines have changed since we've been over here. Nope. Nothing else to say. Thumbs up to you. So much to talk about, but I got a day to live, don't you? I got a day to live. Let these people work out their own problems, okay? I can't help you in Hong Kong. I can't help you in freaking California, really. You know, you're living there, and you know there's earthquakes there. There's earthquakes here. There's earthquakes that can be anywhere, right? It happens. And, you know, anyway, there you go. I'd love to save the world, but I don't know what to do. It's a great song, by the way, 10 years after. So maybe we'll go out on that. I'll look that up here. Yeah. In fact, that might become a theme. I'd love to change the world. Close enough. Yeah, all my brothers and all my friends, I hope you have a great day. Don't let the bastards get you down.
Everywhere is freaks and harriers, dykes and fairies. Tell me where is sanity? Tax the rich, feed the poor, till there are no rich no more. Population keeps on breeding, nation bleeding, still more feeding economy. Life is funny, skies are sunny.